The gas station was crowded when Daniel Brooks pulled his old pickup beside pump number 6. It was a cold Friday afternoon, and the sky was already turning gray. Daniel glanced at the fuel gauge. Almost empty. He checked his wallet. $23. He sighed. That should be enough to get us home. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, was asleep in the passenger seat with her favorite stuffed rabbit tucked beneath her arm. Daniel looked at her and smiled. She had fallen asleep halfway through their drive because of the long day at school. He reached over and gently adjusted her seatbelt. "Stay asleep, kiddo." Then he stepped out of the truck. The pickup was old. Very old. The paint had faded. One side mirror had been replaced with a cheaper aftermarket version. The passenger door made a loud clicking sound whenever it opened. But Daniel took care of it. It had belonged to his father. More importantly, it had carried him and Lily through some of the hardest years of their lives. He walked inside the station. The cashier looked up. "How much?" "23 on pump 6. The cashier nodded. Daniel placed the bills on the counter. As he turned around, a black luxury SUV pulled into the station. It was impossible to miss. The vehicle looked like it cost more than Daniel's house. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. She wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Her heels clicked against the pavement. 2 assistants followed her. Daniel recognized her immediately. Elena Grant, CEO of Grantwell Industries, one of the most powerful businesswomen in the city. Daniel had once worked on a major construction project for her company. He had met her several times. Back then, he had worn expensive suits. He had carried a company identification badge. He had attended meetings in glass offices overlooking downtown. That life was gone now. Elena walked into the station. She stopped when she saw him. Her expression changed. "Daniel." He turned. "Ms. Grant." She stared at him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then her eyes traveled from his face to his faded jacket, then to his worn boots. Finally, she looked through the window at his old pickup. Her lips curled into a smile. "Still driving that thing?" Daniel glanced outside. "Still getting me where I need to go." One of her assistants laughed. Elena smiled. "I heard you lost your position. That was 2 years ago. And now?" Daniel shrugged. "Now I'm doing what I need to do." Her eyes moved toward Lily. The little girl was still sleeping. Apparently, Daniel didn't respond. He simply waited for the cashier to finish his transaction. Elena crossed her arms. "You know, I always thought you were too talented to end up like this." Daniel looked at her. "Like what?" She gestured toward the gas station. "Struggling." "I'm not struggling. You have $23. Daniel glanced at the counter. "That's what I have with me." Elena laughed softly. "Same thing." Daniel remained calm. He had learned a long time ago that people who judged others quickly usually revealed more about themselves than the people they judged. He picked up his receipt. "I should get going." Elena stepped in front of him. "Wait." Daniel stopped. "I remember you." "I'd hope so. You were the engineer who challenged my project manager. I was the safety consultant. You argued with my team because they wanted to approve a structure that hadn't passed inspection." Elena waved her hand. "And yet the project was completed. After they corrected the problems." Her smile disappeared. "You always did have an answer." Daniel looked at her. "I preferred facts." One of her assistants whispered something to her. Elena nodded. Then she looked at Daniel again. "You know what your problem is?" Daniel sighed. "What?" "You never learned your place." Daniel looked toward his daughter. His expression softened. "My place is wherever my daughter needs me." Elena laughed. "That's touching." Daniel didn't answer. Elena glanced at Lily again. "Does she know her father used to work for people like me?" Daniel looked at her. "She knows her father loves her." For the first time, Elena's smile disappeared completely. The cashier looked uncomfortable. Daniel picked up his receipt. "Have a good day." He started walking toward the door. Then Elena called after him. "Daniel." He stopped. She opened her purse, pulled out a $100 bill, and held it toward him. "Here." Daniel stared at the money. "No." She frowned. "Take it." "I don't need it." "You clearly do." Daniel shook his head. "It's not about the money." "Then what is it about?" "Respect." Elena laughed. "You're refusing $100 because of pride." "No." Daniel looked her directly in the eyes. "I'm refusing it because you aren't offering it as kindness." Her face hardened. "What am I offering?" "Pity." Elena's assistant looked away. Daniel continued. "I don't need yours." He walked out. Elena followed him to the doorway. "You're making a mistake." Daniel stopped beside his truck. "No." He opened the driver's door. Leaving this conversation is the first good decision I've made all day. He got inside. Lily stirred. Daddy. Daniel looked at her. I'm here. She rubbed her eyes. Did you get gas? Yep. Are we going home? Yes. She smiled. Can we get donuts? Daniel laughed. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.5. Lily giggled. Okay. Daniel started the engine. Before pulling away, he glanced in the rearview mirror. Elena was still standing outside the station, watching him. Daniel didn't care. He drove away. But Elena's phone rang before the truck disappeared from view. She answered without looking at the number. Yes. A man's voice came through. Ms. Grant, we have a problem. She frowned. What kind? The federal investigation. Her expression changed. What federal investigation? The investigation into your company's financial operations. Elena stopped walking. What are you talking about? The judge has been assigned. Who? There was a pause. Then the man said, Daniel Brooks. Elena froze. What? Judge Daniel Brooks. She looked toward the road. Daniel's old pickup had disappeared into traffic. No. Yes. Elena's voice became quieter. The Daniel Brooks? That's correct. The former federal investigator? Yes. The man who resigned? Yes. The one who disappeared from public life? Yes. Elena stared at the empty road. Her assistant noticed her expression. Is everything okay? Elena didn't answer. She was remembering the gas station. $23. The old truck. The worn jacket. The little girl sleeping in the passenger seat. The $100 bill. And the words she had spoken. You never learned your place. She suddenly wished she could take them back. But the phone call wasn't finished. There is another issue, the attorney said. What? The judge has a reputation for being extremely thorough. Elena swallowed. How thorough? He's the investigator who originally uncovered the evidence that triggered the federal review. Her face went pale. You mean he already knows the case? He knows more than anyone. Elena looked at her assistant. Cancel everything. The assistant frowned. What? Everything. But we're supposed to meet the acquisition team. Cancel it. She walked back toward her SUV. Now. Her assistant hurried after her. What happened? Elena stopped. She looked at the station where Daniel had been standing minutes earlier. I just insulted the man who is about to decide the fate of my company. Her assistant stared at her. Who? Elena whispered. Daniel Brooks. 3 days later, Elena walked into the federal courthouse surrounded by attorneys. The building was imposing. Tall marble columns. Security checkpoints. People speaking in hushed voices. Her legal team had spent the entire weekend preparing. They assured her they could handle the case. We're prepared, her lead attorney said. Elena nodded, but she wasn't listening. She couldn't stop thinking about the gas station, about the way Daniel had looked at her. Not angry, not intimidated, just disappointed. The courtroom doors opened. Everyone took their seats. Then the clerk stood. All rise. Elena stood. The side door opened. A man in black judicial robes walked toward the bench. Elena's breath stopped. It was Daniel, the same man who had been standing beside an old pickup. The same man she had offered $100. The same man she had called a failure. He sat behind the bench, looked across the courtroom, and said calmly, Please be seated. Elena slowly sat. Her attorney leaned toward her. Do you know the judge? Elena swallowed. Unfortunately, and for the first time, she understood something Daniel had known all along. A person's true position in life isn't determined by what they wear. It isn't determined by the car they drive. And it certainly isn't determined by how much money they have in their wallet. Sometimes the person who looks like he has nothing is the person who has spent years earning something far more valuable. Trust, integrity, and respect. Daniel had all three. And Elena was about to discover just how much they were worth. 3 days later, Elena Grant walked into the federal courthouse surrounded by attorneys. She had barely slept since the gas station. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered Daniel's face. Not angry, not embarrassed, calm. That bothered her more than anything. People usually reacted when she insulted them. They became defensive. They argued. They tried to prove themselves. Daniel had done none of that. He had simply walked away. Now she understood why. He had nothing to prove. The courthouse was packed. Reporters stood outside. Federal agents moved through the lobby. Elena's attorneys surrounded her as they walked toward the courtroom. We're prepared, her lead attorney said. Elena nodded. What are the odds? We have a strong defense. That's not what I asked. The attorney hesitated. We don't know yet. Elena stopped. You said we were prepared. We are. Then why don't you sound confident? He lowered his voice. Because Judge Brooks is known for reading every document himself. Elena looked at him. You know him? Professionally. What kind of judge is he? The attorney paused. The kind you don't want to underestimate. Elena almost laughed. Too late. He frowned. What? She shook her head. Nothing. The courtroom doors opened. Everyone took their seats. The clerk stood. All rise. Elena rose. The side door opened. Daniel Brooks walked in wearing black judicial robes. The courtroom became silent. Elena's stomach dropped. He walked to the bench without looking at her. He sat. Please be seated. Everyone sat. Daniel opened the file. His voice was calm. The matter before the court concerns alleged financial misconduct involving Grantwell Industries. Elena's hands tightened. He continued. The court will hear arguments regarding the government's request for continued investigation and preservation of corporate assets. Her attorney stood. Your Honor. Daniel looked up. Counsel. We believe the government has overreached. Daniel nodded. Proceed. The attorney spoke for nearly 20 minutes. He argued that Grantwell Industries was being unfairly targeted. He questioned the financial evidence. He insisted that Elena had no knowledge of wrongdoing. Daniel listened. He asked occasional questions. Precise questions. Uncomfortable questions. Questions that revealed he had studied every page. Then the prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the government has evidence that several senior executives manipulated financial records. Daniel looked at the prosecutor. Evidence of Ms. Grant's direct involvement? The prosecutor paused. Not in every transaction. That's not what I asked. The prosecutor opened a folder. We have evidence that she was informed of irregularities. Elena's attorney objected.